Today, we're talking to Christine Langevin, who is a chartered professional accountant here in Oakville. And we're going to talk about something that people don't necessarily like to talk about, which is your income tax. Christine, thank you so much for joining us. And you've got some really timely and important information for us. So I really appreciate, I know how busy tax time is for you in April. So I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Sure, no problem.
So we'll jump right into it. One of the things that people, when they're filling out their income tax return, they can claim the climate action incentive. And I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about what that is and how much people are getting back, all of that.
Sure. So the climate action incentive is something as a refundable credit. So that means you'll get it no matter how much money you make or anything like that, or how many deductions you have. So you will get it. It's for anyone residing in Canada, of course, is eligible, any adult over 18. And it can be quite a bit of money that you get back. So it's $300 for an individual. And if you're married, so another $150 for your spouse, and then $75 for each child that you have. So that could amount to a good chunk of money if you have a few kids. It is, there is a supplement too. You can get 10% more if you're in a rural area, so outside of a metropolitan area. And you just have to see if you meet that criteria, and then you can get that extra. This is, what was going to say, Schedule 14 is the schedule you need to fill out with your taxes. And it's very simple. Just fill in the number of people you have and you're done.
Well, that's great. And in case people don't know, when we put a price on pollution, what we did was we in turn created this refund that people could get, that for 90% of people who are in a jurisdiction that doesn't have a provincial price on pollution, so that's Ontario where we are, 90% of people actually get more back than what they pay. And then the other 10% is actually sent directly to communities. So here in Halton, we just announced funding that's going to the Halton District School Board and Halton Catholic Board. Both of them are getting funding. But I think what's important about this one is that it is actually money back. It's not just a deduction, right?
That's right. That's right. It's a refundable tax credit, so you will get it.
Awesome. So this year, when people file their taxes, many of us have been working at home this year, and which is not ideal, but of course, you know, following public health guidelines, and so there's some new deductions that are available this year. I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about those.
Sure. For office in the home, for all the people working at home, there always was an office in the home deduction with a declaration of conditions of employment, a form that your employer needed to fill out. It was quite long. So what happened for 2020 was CRI said that, well, shorten the form, make it easier for employers to give out to all the employees that did have to work at home. And then you can claim some extra expenses that you incurred at home, such as your utilities, your home maintenance, and any specific 100% business expenses that you had to pay on behalf of your employer. That wasn't reimbursed. And so that's a deduction against income. So that's very useful to people to reduce their taxable income. If you don't get the form, if your employer said, well, I just can't get the form out to you. If you don't get the form, there is a way you can deduct office in the home in terms of a flat rate. So $2 a day for up to 200 days. If you worked at home, you can get $400 off your against your income. And that's just form T777S that you would need to fill out with your taxes. And it's very helpful.
Yeah, it is helpful, and I think it's new this year, and a lot of people may not know that that's available to them. And I know when I was doing my taxes, there's also one for digital subscriptions this year, which I don't know if it's new, Christine, but I saw it there and I was surprised.
It's new last year. And actually, I was just telling a local e-newspaper about it. So it was interesting to that they didn't even know about it. So I think it's 2 years this year. And the digital subscription is for any qualified Canadian journalism organization. There's a list of them on the website, on CRA website or canada.ca website. And you can if you have subscriptions up to $500, you can deduct them as a non-refundable tax credit.
That's awesome. So one of the questions I get asked is, well, I don't owe any money, so why do I need to file my income
Oh,
tax return?
that's a good one.
So maybe you can
Yes.
tell us why, Christine.
Okay, several reasons. So even if you don't owe money, you may want to continue some of the benefit programs that you've participated in. So like Canada Child Benefit, you must file a tax return, both spouses, if you're going to get that benefit. GST credits. For seniors, the GSI or the Guaranteed Supplement Income, you need to file your return for those kind of benefits. Also, for the new Canada Recovery benefits, you need to have filed your tax return so that they base that information on the prior year. They need your tax return to go forward and provide those kind of benefits to you.
Well, and the Canada Child Benefit is a significant amount of money to families. I know I had a few years ago, the minister at the time was Jean-Yves Duclos, who came to the riding, and we visited a childcare center, and he was surprised at how many families in Oakville, North Burlington were one of the highest in the country, actually, that are receiving the Canada Child Benefit and other benefits like the climate action incentive too. You're not going to get unless you've actually filed your income tax
That's right.
return, right? You mentioned an important point that I hadn't thought about, but a number of people received the CERB early in the pandemic.
Yes.
And of course, tax wasn't deducted from that, right? And so maybe you could talk a little bit about that and why it's important that they're filing their income tax return.
Okay. So the CERB that came out in the early part of the pandemic, as you said, in 2020, it had no tax taken off. So you do have to file to see, like if you had other income or, well, if you had other income, you might be taxable on that income itself, on the CERB, as well as your other income. And since no tax was taken off, you do owe that any income on that to CRA. It's about $14,000, I think, if you did the maximum for 2020. If you just had that as your income for 2020, then you may not be taxable because the personal exemption amount increased last year to about 13,000 and some change. So you may not actually have to pay tax on that if that was your sole income.
And again, being able to take advantage of some of these other benefits is another reason why you should be filing. So
Absolutely.
we're coming up on tax deadline. When do people need to file their taxes by, Christine?
This year, still April 30th. So it's we have 14 days. I'm keeping a close eye on that. 14 days to file. If you're a regular employee, if you're self-employed, you do have till June 15th to file your tax return. You and your spouse.
And that's not unusual this year. That's CRA has always had a later tax filing deadline if you were self-employed. Is that right?
That's correct. That's normal. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think the only other point I wanted to make is that in Oakville, North Burlington, the Oak Park Neighborhood Center actually runs tax clinics for people who are low income. So if anyone is watching and does meet the lower income threshold, do get in touch with them. And they are still providing these tax clinics even during the pandemic. In fact, they did it last year too, figured out how to do it in a safe way. So if you are lower income, there is the opportunity to there's no charge to get it done at Oak Park Neighborhood Center. So anything else you can think of, Christine?
Here's one. I wonder, normally if your employer gives you $500, it's a taxable benefit from your employer. But in 2020, if they gave you $500 to reimburse you for any office furniture you bought for your home. It's tax-free. So there you go.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's really helpful. Well, listen, I know how busy you are, and you've been just an angel to take the time to explain all of this to us, and I really appreciate it, Christine. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Pam. Good to see you.
You too.